you can hear this, then you're awake, and your mind is doing that thing it does, turning things over, replaying moments, reaching forward into tomorrow, backward into yesterday, somewhere other than here. That's all right. You don't have to stop it. You don't have to fight it. You just have to let this voice be one more thing in the room, like the sound of rain or the weight of a blanket. Something to rest against. Wherever you are right now, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, curled on your side. You don't have to move. You don't have to fix anything tonight. There is an hour that belongs to no one. It comes after midnight has settled and before the first birds dare to test the silence. It arrives in the space between the last thought you meant to have and the first one that found you anyway. You know this hour. You are in it right now. The room around you is the same room it always is. And yet at this hour, it seems to have a different quality, a density, a stillness that ordinary daylight hours never quite achieve. The shapes of familiar things, the door frame, the curtain, the small cluster of objects on the nightstand, are darker than they are in dreams, softer than they are in waking. The ceiling above you is a quiet nothing, and you have been staring at it, or at the inside of your eyelids, for longer now than you would like. The mind is doing what the mind does at this hour. It is reaching. It is rehearsing. It is returning to something you already thought about before you went to sleep, and it is returning to it with the particular insistence of a prosecutor who believes the case is still not settled. The conversation you had or didn't have. The thing you said or should have said or should not have said. The unknown outcome of something that matters. Something that will not be resolved tonight. Something that cannot be resolved at 3 a.m. by a person lying in a darkened room, and yet the mind insists. It circles. It returns. You are not broken. You are not failing at sleep. You are human in the oldest and most ordinary sense of that word, doing the thing that humans have done since the first night a person lay awake beside a dying fire and wondered what morning would bring. Tonight, let this voice be your companion through this hour. Not to argue with the mind, not to silence it or shame it into stillness, but simply to offer it something else to hold for a while. A story, a thought, a breath taken slowly in a quiet room. Let the weight of the pillow receive the weight of your head. Let the surface beneath you hold the full heaviness of a body that has worked and moved and carried things all day. You don't have to do anything with the thoughts. You don't have to solve them or release them or think them through to some satisfying conclusion. You can simply notice that they are there, the way you might notice rain against a window, and then turn your attention gently to what is also here. The warmth, the quiet, the breath moving in and out without your permission, without your effort, the same way it has moved for every night of your life. That breath is an old friend. It has been with you through every difficult hour you have ever endured. It is here now. Let us begin there. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Let the air fill you, not with effort, not by force, just by allowing. And then breathe out slowly through slightly parted lips, longer than the breath that came in. Let the body empty. Let the chest fall, and then wait, just for a moment, in the small pause between one breath and the next, before the next one comes on its own. There is something important in that pause, that gap of emptiness between the exhale and the inhale. It lasts only a heartbeat, but it is always there, and it is always quiet. It has been there between every breath you have ever taken, a small, recurring silence that your busy mind almost never notices. Notice it now. The ancient Stoic philosophers, men and women who lived 2,000 years ago in the loud, complicated, violent, beautiful world of the Roman Empire, spent much of their lives thinking carefully about exactly the kind of hour you are having right now. Not because they were impractical dreamers who had the luxury of contemplating suffering from a safe distance. Quite the opposite. They were senators and slaves, generals and exiles. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire of millions while managing plague and war and constant political treachery. Epictetus was owned by a master who once broke his leg to prove a philosophical point. Seneca lived under emperors who could end his life on a whim, and eventually, one did. These were people who understood difficulty from the inside, and what they discovered in their different ways, from their different circumstances, was something that seems simple, but takes a lifetime to really absorb. That there is a significant difference between the thing itself and the story the mind tells about the thing, between what is actually happening and what we imagine might happen, or has happened, or will happen if we are not careful. Between reality and the theater the mind constructs in the dark. Breathe in again. Hold it for just a moment, and release slowly. Let the exhalation be long and unhurried, the way water moves when there is nothing to block it. Seneca, who wrote some of the wisest letters in the history of the world to a friend named Lucilius, put it this way: we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He had watched this in himself and in everyone around him for decades. The anticipation of the difficult thing is almost always worse than the difficult thing itself. The imagined conversation, the imagined outcome, the imagined failure or loss. These live in a place the mind has constructed, a place with no ceiling and no walls, where every fear can grow as large as it wants, because there is nothing real to limit it. What is limiting you right now, in this room, is real. The walls are real. The ceiling is real. The warmth of the blanket is real. The breath in your chest is real. The catastrophe the mind is rehearsing has not happened. It exists in the imagination, and the imagination, at 3 a.m, is not at its most accurate. This is not dismissal. The things that worry you are real things. The difficulty is real, but the version of it your mind is running right now, inflated by exhaustion, magnified by stillness, freed from the moderating friction of the waking world, is larger than it needs to be. It is the shadow of the thing, thrown large against the wall by a very close light, and you are lying here watching the shadow and believing it is the shape of what is coming. What is coming is morning, and morning has a different light. It shrinks shadows to their proper size. Let yourself breathe through that understanding. In through the nose. Let the air be cool and clean. Out through the mouth. Let the shadow go with it, just a little. Not by force, just by permission. You are allowed to set it down for the length of one breath. You can pick it back up later, if you need to. It will be there. But for this breath, just breathe. There was a man who was born a slave. His name was Epictetus. He was born in the city of Hierapolis in Phrygia, in what is now the southwestern part of Turkey, sometime around 50 AD. He had no freedom over his circumstances, no control over where he lived or who owned him or what was demanded of him. He was sold and moved and owned, and by one account treated with deliberate cruelty by a master who believed that a philosopher's composure could be broken if you applied enough physical pain. It could not. Epictetus went on to be one of the most influential teachers in Western history. He taught in a small school, informally, to students who came to sit with him and listen. He wrote nothing down. What we have of his teachings was recorded by a student named Arian, who took careful notes. And at the center of everything he taught, in every lesson and every conversation, was a distinction so simple that it fits in a single sentence, and so profound that philosophers are still unpacking it 2,000 years later. Some things are in our control, he said, and some things are not. In our control, our opinions, our intentions, what we choose to pursue, what we choose to avoid, how we respond to what happens to us. These things are ours, fully ours. They belong to us in a way that cannot be taken, regardless of circumstance. Not in our control. Our bodies, our reputations, what other people think or say or do, the outcomes of our efforts, the weather of the world, the decisions of others, the shape that tomorrow takes. Not ours. Borrowed at best. Now there is something quietly radical in this, and I want you to feel it rather than just think it. Breathe in again, slowly, and as you breathe in, consider whatever it is that your mind has been circling tonight. The thing that keeps coming back. The problem, the fear, the unresolved situation. Hold it gently, the way you might hold a stone you found on a path. Just to look at it, not to carry it forever. And ask, gently, is this something within my control? If any part of it is, if there is something you can do, some response or intention or quality of attention that is genuinely yours to give, then you already have what you need to meet it. Not tonight, because tonight is not the time for action. But when the moment comes, you will have what you need, because what you need is already part of you. It always has been. And if it is not within your control, if the outcome belongs to the world, to chance, to the choices of other people, to forces much larger than any one person's will, then there is something Epictetus would say very directly. The work of tonight is not to solve it. The work of tonight is to understand that it is not yours to carry. You can care about it. You can respond to it thoughtfully when the time comes. But you cannot own its outcome and the attempt to own it. The white-knuckled gripping of something that is not ours to hold is the source of the suffering, not the protection against it. Let the breath do its work. Out through the lips, long and slow. Let the shoulders, and notice them right now, because they are almost certainly higher than they need to be. Let them drop. Not forcibly. Just allow gravity to do what it is always trying to do. The shoulders want to fall. The muscles of the neck want to lengthen. The jaw wants to come unclenched. These things are waiting for your permission. Give it. Epictetus said this, and I think it is among the most quietly liberating sentences ever written. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. A tranquil flow of life. Not a perfect life. Not a controlled life. Not a life from which difficulty has been successfully excluded. A life that moves, like water, around and over and through the shape of what actually is, rather than breaking itself against what it wishes were different. You can flow tonight. You are allowed to. Breathe in. Let the rib cage expand. Let the belly soften and round. Hold it for a breath and release. Long and easy, all the way to the end, past the point where it feels like it should stop, until the lungs are empty and the next breath comes on its own, the way it always does, without you having to ask. Your body has been working all day, even on the quietest day. Even on a day when you barely moved, when you sat and thought and scrolled and talked. Your body was working. The heart was beating. The lungs were contracting and expanding. The immune system was monitoring and responding to 1,000 small intrusions. The nervous system was gathering information from every surface and sound and light source in your environment, constantly, without pause, translating the world into something the mind could navigate. Your body doesn't stop when you stop. It has been at this work your entire life, and it will continue through this night, through sleep or through wakefulness, through worry and through peace. It is extraordinarily faithful. It is extraordinarily patient, and it carries the day's weight long after the day is over. So let's visit it, not to analyze or interrogate, not to look for what is wrong, but simply to notice. The way you might walk slowly through a room you love, touching familiar things, not looking for anything in particular, just present to what is there. Begin at the top of the head. The scalp, which you almost never think about, which holds tension in its own quiet way. The muscles that run from the brow to the crown. Let them be still. Let the skin of the forehead smooth, the way ice smooths a lake. Slowly, gradually, without drama. The space between the eyebrows, which has been knitting itself together with concentration and concern all day. Let it open. Let there be a little more space there than there was a moment ago. The eyes closed now. Behind the eyelids, the eyeballs are resting in their sockets, and there is a subtle tension even there. The eyes have been searching and reading and holding expressions all day, and they don't quite know yet that they are allowed to stop. Let them know. Let them be heavy, soft, resting in the warm dark behind closed lids. The jaw. This is where many people carry a great deal. The muscles of the jaw clench when we are uncertain, when we are holding something back, when we are bracing for something. Let the teeth part slightly. Let the tongue rest soft in the bottom of the mouth, not pressed to the roof, not working. Let the jaw hang, just a little, loose and unheld. The throat, the place where the voice lives and where the voice is so often strangled by the things we cannot say. Let it be open tonight, wide and easy, like a doorway with nothing blocking it. The shoulders. They have come up again since the last time you released them. The body is persistent in its old patterns, so let them drop again. And this time, let them also roll back, just slightly, opening the chest. Not military straightness, not performance. Just the natural shape of a chest that isn't bracing against anything. The arms, heavy now, from the shoulders all the way to the hands. The hands themselves. Let the fingers uncurl if they have been curled. Let the palms face upward or sideways or however gravity places them when there is no intent left in them. The hands can release everything they've been holding. There is nothing to grip in a darkened room at 3 in the morning. Everything that matters is safe enough without the grip. The chest rises and falls, rises and falls. You are not managing this. It is happening on its own, the way it has been happening all night, all your life. The lungs are doing their ancient, patient work. The heart is beating its 60 or 70 or 80 beats per minute, which amounts to something like 100,000 beats every day, more than 30 million every year, a number so large it stops meaning anything. Just beating. Just here. The belly. Soft. Let it be soft. Many of us hold the belly in without realizing. A habit of self-consciousness, of bracing, of the body's ongoing effort to seem smaller than it is. Tonight, in the dark, where no one is watching, let the belly be exactly as round and soft as it wants to be. Let it rise with the breath, all the way, pushing outward slightly. And let it fall with the exhale, the deep exhale that empties the lower lungs first and then the upper. The hips, the pelvis, the base of the spine. This is the foundation of the body. Everything above it is supported by this basin of bone. Let it settle now, heavy and wide, pressing into whatever is beneath it. Let the foundation bear the weight. It was built for this. The legs, the long muscles of the thighs, which carry the body upright all day and hold the readiness to move, to stand, to leave. They can rest now. There is nowhere to go. Let them be heavy as wood, as stone, as earth that has been lying in the same place for a very long time. The knees unlocked. The calves relaxed. The feet, at whatever angle they fell when you stopped arranging them, heavy and warm and through with moving for today. The whole body now, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet. A single form, lying still, breathing slowly in a darkened room, held by the surface beneath it and by the weight of gravity and by the simple fact of being alive. This body does not need to be managed right now. It does not need to be improved or corrected or pushed toward anything. It just needs to rest. And it knows how. It has been resting and recovering and repairing through every night of your life. Tonight is not an exception. Tonight, rest is available. You are allowed to receive it. Breathe in, all the way, letting the belly expand and the chest open. Hold it gently for a moment, and then release. The long release. The one that goes further than you think it needs to, the one that empties things properly. And then wait. Wait in the gap between the end of the exhale and the beginning of the inhale, that brief, recurring pause of silence. Rest in it. It is always there. Marcus Aurelius became Emperor of Rome in 161 AD. He was, at that moment, arguably the most powerful person in the world, ruler of an empire that stretched from Britain to Mesopotamia, commander of armies, arbiter of the fate of millions. He was also, by the accounts of those who knew him, a deeply conscientious and often troubled man. He did not want the power. He had been a scholar and a philosopher, trained in the Stoic tradition, devoted to reading and thinking and the careful examination of his own character. He wanted a quiet life of study. Instead, he inherited the most complicated job in the Western world, at a time when the empire was beset by military threats on multiple borders and, beginning about 8 years into his reign, by the Antonine Plague. which would eventually kill perhaps 5 million people, and which moved through his empire like a dark tide for nearly 15 years. Through all of it, he wrote, not for publication, not for posterity, for himself. Notes, observations, arguments he made to his own character when it was slipping, reminders of what mattered when the noise of empire threatened to drown out everything else. He wrote in Greek, his preferred language for thinking in whatever moments the day offered him. On campaign, between audiences, late at night. The book we call the Meditations was never meant to be read by anyone but its author. It survived by accident or by grace, and we have been reading it for nearly 2,000 years. What strikes people who come to it for the first time is how familiar it sounds. This man, governing the world, plagued by war and disease and the inevitable corruption and disappointment of power, was wrestling with the same things that keep ordinary people awake at 3 in the morning. The fear of wasting his life, the frustration with difficult people, the question of whether he was doing enough, the temptation to withdraw into bitterness or despair, the effort, the constant, never-finished effort to think clearly and act rightly in conditions that were always complex and often terrible. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Power over the mind, not over events, not over outcomes, not over what other people do or what the world decides to hand you on any given day. Just the mind, just the inside, just the quality of attention you bring to whatever is in front of you. This sounds like a small kingdom, but it is the only kingdom that cannot be taken from you. Breathe in. Let the chest expand. Let the back of the skull press gently into the pillow. Let the body be heavy and still. And breathe out. The long exhale, the one that tells the nervous system that this is not an emergency, that the breathing is not labored, that there is enough air, that there is enough of everything for right now. Marcus wrote something else, something I think about on difficult nights. He wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. You will meet it with what you have, with what you are." And here is what that means. You are not going into tomorrow empty. You are not a person without resources, without the capacity to think and feel and respond and adjust. You have done this before, met difficult things, survived difficult hours, found your way through situations that, from the inside, seemed impossible to navigate. Every single time you came through. Not always as you planned, not always without cost, but through. The person lying in this room right now has a history of surviving things, a track record of endurance that the mind at 3 in the morning has conveniently forgotten. You are not beginning tomorrow unarmed, but you are not beginning it tonight either. Tonight, the weapons rest. The capacity to reason and respond and meet what comes. It rests, sharpens in the quiet, grows stronger in the stillness. This is what sleep does. This is why rest is not weakness or withdrawal. It is preparation. It is the sharpening of the instrument that tomorrow will need. And if sleep does not come perfectly tonight, if it comes partially or intermittently or in shorter stretches than you wanted, the rest is still doing its work. The body lying still is still recovering. The mind growing quieter is still restoring itself. You do not have to sleep perfectly to benefit from this hour. You just have to be here. Confine yourself to the present, Marcus wrote. Again and again, in different words, from different angles, as if reminding himself of something that was always slipping away. The present. This room. This breath. This moment, which is the only place where anything actually happens, ever. The past is finished. The future is not yet real. The present, this thin, moving edge of now, is all that exists. And it is always enough, because it is all there is to work with. The present, right now, is a room, a body, a breath, a quiet voice, the beginning of stillness. That is enough. That is everything. In a part of the world very far from Rome, in a time very far from the Stoics, an old man sat down to write 81 short poems. We don't know if he was really old. We don't know with certainty that he wrote them at all. Tradition says he did and calls him Lao Tzu, which simply means the old master, and the text he left is called the Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way and its power. It is one of the oldest texts in human history, composed in China perhaps 5 or 6 centuries before the Common Era, and it is still being read in every language in the world, in every country, by people who have never met each other and would disagree about almost everything except this, that there is something in these 81 poems that feels deeply, inarguably true. The Tao is not easily explained. It is not a god, not exactly, and not a law, not exactly. It is more like the underlying nature of things, the pattern that is running beneath the surface of everything that exists. The way water flows downhill, not because it decides to, but because that is the nature of water and the nature of hills. And when you understand that nature and move with it rather than against it, everything becomes easier, simpler, less exhausting. And the image Lao Tzu returns to again and again in poem after poem is water. The highest good is like water, he wrote. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places men reject, and so is like the Tao. Water gives life without effort. It flows to the lowest place, the place that others avoid, the humble place, the place without prestige. And in doing so, it nourishes everything. It does not compete. It does not strive. It takes the shape of whatever container holds it and moves through whatever channel is offered. It does not fight the stone. It goes around the stone, or over it, or, given enough time, through it. Slowly, patiently, without anger. And because water does not fight, it outlasts everything that does. Nothing in the world, Lao Tzu wrote, is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. The soft overcomes the hard. Lie with this for a moment. Let the breath be soft. Let it come without force. The mind at 3 a.m. is often very hard, very rigid, very certain, very insistent on the particular shape it has decided the problem must take. And the more we push against it, the harder it gets. The more we try to force the mind into stillness, the more it resists, because forcing is its language, and it will always win an argument conducted in its own terms. But water doesn't argue. Water just finds another way. You can be water tonight. Not by giving up, not by surrendering to whatever the mind is insisting, but by yielding, by not fighting the thought, by letting it be there, by allowing it to exist without feeding it, without adding to it, without agreeing to its insistence that something must be done about it right now, at this hour, in the dark. A thought that is not fed eventually changes shape. It doesn't disappear. Lao Tzu doesn't promise that, and neither do the Stoics. But it changes. It grows less insistent. It becomes one thing in the room rather than the only thing. Like water finding its level. The mind, when it stops being fought, eventually finds a kind of level too. Do you have the patience, Lao Tzu asks, to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? The mud is the thoughts. All the stirring and turning and returning and insisting, that is the stirring that keeps the mud in suspension. The moment you stop stirring, it begins to sink. It sinks slowly. It takes time, but it sinks. You are not stirring right now. You are lying still, breathing slowly, listening to a quiet voice in a dark room. The mud is beginning to settle. You cannot rush it, but you can stop fighting it, and in stopping the fight, you have already done the most important thing. Breathe in, soft, easy, unhurried. Let the rib cage expand in all directions, forward and sideways, and into the back, into the mattress or the floor, the breath filling the whole circumference of the torso like water filling a bowl. And breathe out, slow and long, the body emptying the way a bowl empties when you tip it gently, without urgency, until it is empty and ready to receive again. The water clears. Not tonight, necessarily. Not completely. Not immediately. But it clears the way it always does when you let it. When you stop asking it to be clear before it's ready and simply breathe and wait. Knowing others is wisdom, Lao Tzu wrote. Knowing yourself is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering yourself requires strength. Tonight, quietly, in the dark, you are practicing that strength. Not the strength that fights or conquers or subdues. The strength that remains. The strength that breathes. The strength that trusts just a little more than the fear does. That morning is coming and things will be clearer then. That is enough strength for tonight. Seneca was born around 4 years before the beginning of the Common Era in the Roman province of Hispania, what is now southern Spain. And he grew up to become one of the most influential men in Rome. He was a philosopher and a playwright and a senator and, for a period of several years, the most powerful advisor to the Emperor Nero, a relationship that was by all accounts extremely complicated and eventually fatal. Nero eventually ordered Seneca to take his own life. He did so with, by the accounts of those who witnessed it, remarkable calm. His life was not simple. It was not sheltered. It was not lived at a philosophical remove from the difficulties of the actual world. It was long and complicated, and sometimes frightening, and full of the particular kind of pressure that comes from being extremely close to power in an age when power was both magnificent and dangerous. And through it all, he wrote letters, hundreds of them, to his friend Gaius Lucilius, a procurator who governed Sicily. They range across philosophy and poetry and practical advice and personal reflection, and they have been read for 2,000 years, and they are still being read because they speak to something that hasn't changed. The difficulty of living attentively, of actually experiencing your own life while you're in it, rather than standing slightly off to the side of it, perpetually preparing for a future that never quite arrives. Omnia, lucili, aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est, he wrote. Everything, Lucilius, belongs to others. Time alone is ours. Everything belongs to others. The house, the reputation, the money, the position. All of it is held temporarily, borrowed from life for a while, and eventually returned. None of it is ours in any final sense. But time, the hours we are given, the moments we are present for, those are ours. That is the only possession that is genuinely ours to spend. And most of us spend it, Seneca says gently but clearly, on things that are not quite what we would choose if we were paying attention. Not from laziness, not from failure, from the simple difficulty of being present in a life that is always asking you to be somewhere else. Forward into planning, backward into regret, sideways into the imagined judgments of others. The actual moment, the one in front of you, the one you are standing in, slips by almost without being felt. This hour is different. This particular hour, the one you are in right now, is being felt. You are here for it. Not willingly, perhaps, not by design, but here. The warmth of the bed is here. The quiet of the room is real. The breath moving through you is happening right now, not in memory and not in anticipation. Now, Seneca wrote, dum defertur vita transcurrit. While we delay, life passes. But there is an inverse to this that he also meant, when we don't delay. When we are actually here in the moment we're in, not in tomorrow and not in yesterday. Then life is not passing. It is being lived. This moment, right now, is your life being lived. Not preparation, not waiting, not the space between the real things. This. Breathe in. Feel the air enter the body. Feel it in the nostrils first, slightly cool, moving into the warmth of the airways, the chest expanding to make room. This is your life happening. This breath, this room, this particular configuration of warmth and dark and quiet that will never exist in exactly this form again. And breathe out, the long, slow release, the body returning to stillness, the brief pause before the next. He wrote also this to Lucilius, recede into ips quantum potes, retire into yourself as much as you can. Come home to yourself. Stop performing, stop managing, stop the constant outward orientation that the waking world demands. Just for this hour, just in this room, come back inside. You are inside now, as inside as you can be. The room is dark, the world is asleep. The day's demands have been suspended until morning. This is the retirement Seneca was describing. Not from life, but into the deepest, quietest room of it. The one that is always there when the outer noise dies down. Rest there. It is yours. It has always been yours. You have just rarely had the occasion to be quite this far inside it. Breathe in, slowly, and out. Let time do what time does. Move forward. Carry you gently toward morning, toward rest, toward the lighter version of whatever is heavy right now. It is moving already. rises. Let us go back into the body one more time, deeper now, slower, without agenda, just attention. Feel the contact between your body and what is holding it. The mattress, or the floor, or the cushion, whatever surface is beneath you. Feel where it gives and where it holds firm. Feel the specific topography of this support. Here it is soft, here firmer. Here there is a slight indentation where you have been. Your body has made a place for itself. It always does, without trying. Feel the temperature, the warmth under the blanket, if you have one, the slight coolness of the air on any exposed skin, the face, perhaps, or a hand. These temperatures have been here all night without your noticing them because the mind was elsewhere. Notice them now. They are simple and real and asking nothing of you. Feel the weight of the eyelids, closed, heavy. The eyes behind them resting in the warm dark, not searching, not reading, not holding any expression at all. This is one of the few moments in a day when the face is asked to be nothing, to perform nothing, to present nothing to anyone. Let it be nothing. Let it be just a face in the dark, at rest. The skull is heavy. The brain inside it, that extraordinary, complicated, relentless organ that has been processing and worrying and solving and anticipating all day, that has been the source of the looping thoughts tonight. Even it is tiring now. Not giving up, not stopping entirely, but slowing. The neural traffic is quieter at this hour than it was an hour ago. The thoughts have less urgency in them. Some of them have already dissolved without you noticing. The neck is long and soft, the shoulders low, the upper back pressed gently into whatever is beneath it. The chest rises, the chest falls, the belly rises, the belly falls, the pelvis, the hips, heavy and still, the foundation of the body, wide and settled. Feel the sacrum, the broad flat bone at the base of the spine, pressing into the surface beneath you. This is an old weight, a deep weight. Let it sink further. Let the surface take more of it. The surface is capable. It is there for exactly this. The legs are long and heavy. The thighs, the knees, the shins and calves, all of it settling slowly, the way snow settles onto a field, not falling violently, just gradually increasing in depth, softening the edges of things, making everything a little more still. The feet, these two objects that carried you through the entire day, every step from bed to bathroom to door to wherever the day took you, they are done now. They have nothing more to do. Let them be exactly as heavy as they are, in whatever position they have come to rest, still and warm and finished. The whole body, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, is resting now. And underneath the body, underneath the mattress and the floor and the foundation of wherever you are, the earth itself, the old, patient, enormous earth, which has been here for 4.5 billion years and will be here long after every building on its surface has been replaced by something else and replaced again. The earth that holds everything without effort, without complaint, without demanding anything in return for its support. You are held by it tonight. You have always been held by it. Every night of your life, whether you thought about it or not, the earth was there, underneath everything, holding you while you slept. You are held. You are completely completely, entirely, perfectly held. Let the body become a little heavier. Let it sink just a little more into that holding. There is a river in the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. He returns to it several times in different forms because he finds in it something that language can almost but not quite reach. The sense of how time moves, how everything moves, how even the things that seem most permanent are actually in constant, imperceptible motion. Time is a river, he wrote, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone. Every moment that has ever existed was only here for an instant, and then it was gone downstream. The great moments of history, the small private moments of ordinary lives, the moment your mother first held you, the moment some teacher said something that changed the way you thought, the moment you fell in love, the moment you felt alone, all of them carried past, all of them gone, all of them real while they were real, and then released. This moment too, this exact moment, with this breath and this quiet and this particular texture of the dark, it is being carried past right now. Even as you rest in it, it is already becoming the next moment, which will become the one after that, which will eventually become the lightening of the window, the first grey suggestion of dawn, the morning. You cannot stop the river, but you can stop fighting it. You can stop standing in it with your feet planted, leaning against the current, exhausted from the effort of trying to hold the present still or drag the future closer. You can simply float. Let the current carry you, the way rivers carry everything, carefully, inevitably, toward the next thing. Marcus wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." Change is nature's delight. The thing you fear losing, or have already lost, or might lose, it is part of the same river. It was lent to you by time, and time may ask for it back, because time asks for everything back eventually. This is not cruelty. It is the nature of the river. The river carries things and then releases them, and then the riverbed is clear for what comes next. What is coming next, after this night, you cannot know. But it is coming, the way morning always comes, the way rivers always move. For now, you are being carried. Breathe in. Feel the current of the breath, the way air moves into the body, and then out of it, the way nothing stays, even the breath, even the very air that is keeping you alive in this moment. It comes in and it goes out, and the next breath comes, and that too passes. And the lungs are never empty for long. And breathe out, long and easy. Let the exhale carry something. Not anything you name or choose specifically, just something. A little of the weight, a little of the insistence, a little of the tonightness of everything that has been tonight. Let it go downstream. Marcus also wrote, in one of the most direct moments in the entire Meditations, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Your thoughts, right now, can make this. A person lying in a warm room, breathing slowly, held by the earth, moving gently on the current of time toward morning. They can make a life that is, in this moment, peaceful enough, rested enough, safe enough. They can also make a catastrophe. They can assemble the worst possible version of tomorrow from the available materials and present it to you as certainty. They do this, these thoughts, not out of malice, but out of habit, out of the ancient anxiety that convinced our ancestors to always be preparing for the worst. It kept them alive, that anxiety. It has its uses in daylight, in action, when something can be done. But right now, it is not needed. Right now, the only thing being asked of you is to let the river carry you a little further, gently, towards sleep. Let the thoughts make something gentle. They are allowed to. You can give them permission. The voice grows quieter now, not because there is nothing left to say. There is always more. The philosophies of 2,000 years are not exhausted by a single night. But because the words have done what words can do, and now the quiet must do the rest. You have been breathing slowly for a while now, longer than you perhaps realize. The breath that happens at the beginning of this kind of listening is not quite the same breath that happens here near the end. It has deepened slightly without you asking it to. The pauses between exhale and inhale have grown a little longer. The body has settled millimeter by millimeter into something closer to where it wants to be. The thoughts are still there, perhaps, some of them. They are quieter than they were. Some have changed shape entirely in the last while. What felt like a wall half an hour ago has perhaps revealed itself as something more like a door. Or perhaps not. Perhaps the problem is still exactly what it was, and it will need to be met tomorrow with care and thought and effort. That is fine. That is exactly what tomorrow is for. Tonight is for this. The warmth of the body, the quiet of the room, the breath moving in and out without instructions, the way it has moved through every night of your life. Let the philosophers be with you still, if they are helpful. Seneca's calm observation that suffering lives mostly in imagination, Epictetus's clear distinction between what is yours and what is not, Marcus Aurelius's private instruction to himself to confine himself to the present, Lao Tzu's water, moving around every obstacle without ever stopping, without ever fighting, finding its way through the world by yielding to it rather than against it. These are old thoughts. They have been thought for a very long time. They have been thought by people in much more difficult circumstances than a person lying in a warm room in the middle of the night. They have held up. They continue to hold up. You can lean on them, the way you lean on something that has proven over a very long time to be solid. Breathe in. Let the belly expand. Let the back press into the surface beneath you. The breath is real. The warmth is real. The surface holding you is real. And breathe out, long and slow, further than you think necessary, until the body is empty and ready, and waiting for the next breath that will come on its own, faithfully, as it always does. You don't have to do anything else tonight. You have thought enough. You have worried enough. You have carried enough. For the next several hours, the carrying can stop. The thinking can rest. The problem, whatever shape it has tonight, can wait in the next room, patient as a stone, ready to be met again in the morning light when the instrument for meeting it is rested and sharp. For now, this, just this, the breath, the quiet, the dark. There is a line from T.S. Eliot that gave this channel its name. He was writing about the nature of time and movement and presence. Difficult, rich, difficult to paraphrase. And in the middle of one of his poems, he wrote of the still point of the turning world. The still point. not a place where the world has stopped turning. The world does not stop turning. It turns constantly. It turns at tremendous speed. It turns with everything on it. Every difficulty and every joy, every unresolved question and every morning that has ever arrived. It does not stop. But there is a point at the center, a point that does not turn because the turning happens around it, like the center of a wheel which is still while the wheel spins, like the eye of a storm which is clear while the storm rages in every direction around it. You can be that point, not all the time, not in the middle of the afternoon with demands coming from every direction, but here, in this hour, in this room, lying still while the world turns, you can be the still point. The breath comes in, the world turns, the breath goes out, the world turns, and at the center, something that is you. Not the worried part, not the planning part, not the part rehearsing the difficult conversation, but something older and quieter and more essentially you than any of those things. Still, Seneca wrote, Nasquam est qui ubique est. He who is everywhere is nowhere. But right now, you are not everywhere. You are here. This room, this breath, this specific pocket of warmth and quiet in a world that is very large and usually very loud. Here, you can be nowhere else. Epictetus. The essence of philosophy is that a man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. You do not need the problem to be solved. You do not need tomorrow to go a particular way. You do not need the world to be other than it is tonight in order to have this, a warm room, a quiet breath, the turning world around you, and the still point at the center. Marcus Aurelius, to himself, late at night, in whatever tent or palace he was writing from, do not indulge in dreams of what you lack, and reckon up the blessings you actually possess. What you actually possess, right now, breath, warmth, quiet, time, the body doing its patient work of living, the mind, even now, gradually releasing its grip on tonight. These are not small things. Breathe in. Let the chest rise fully. Let the belly round. Let the back lengthen against the surface beneath you. And breathe out. All of it. The long release, the full exhale, past the point it seems finished, until the lungs are completely empty and the body is quiet and the next breath comes, as it always does, on its own. You are safe. You are here. You are the still point. And the world turns around you, as it always has, as it always will, carrying everything forward. The worry and the wonder, the loss and the love, the unresolved and the resolved. All of it moving downstream, all of it changing, all of it in the care of something much larger than any single night. You don't have to hold it. You never had to hold it. Let it go and sleep. Sleep the way the earth sleeps, heavily, deeply, without apology, in the full confidence that morning knows how to come without being summoned. Sleep. The still point holds. There is a practice in many wisdom traditions that does not have a single name, but exists in all of them, in different clothing. The Stoics called it something like voluntary withdrawal, the deliberate choice to stop engaging with the surface of things and go inward. The Taoists simply described it as wue, non-doing, the remarkable power of choosing not to act, not to strive, not to push. The Buddhist traditions speak of allowing, the practice of sitting with what is, without adding to it or subtracting from it, without the constant editorial commentary the mind applies to everything it encounters. They are all describing the same thing, the thing you are doing right now. You are not achieving anything in this moment. You are not working toward a goal. You are not solving or improving or preparing or planning. You are simply being in the room you are in, breathing the air that is available, resting in the body you were given for this life. And this apparently simple and entirely unproductive thing is one of the most important things a person can do. Because everything else you do, every decision you make, every relationship you tend, every problem you engage with, every kindness you offer, and every effort you make comes from this. The quality of the rest determines the quality of everything that follows it. The night is not time stolen from the day. The night is what makes the day possible. Seneca understood this. He wrote to Lucilius, "Omnia aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum." All things are foreign to us, time alone is ours. And the time of the night, these hours between the end of one day and the beginning of the next, belongs entirely to you in a way that the waking hours rarely do. In the daylight, time is divided and parceled out to work, to obligation, to the needs of others, to the 10,000 small demands of a life in the world. But in the night, the parceling stops. The demands are suspended. The time is, for a few hours, genuinely yours. You are in your own time right now. Not borrowed time, not owed time, not time that has already been spoken for. Yours. There is a quality of stillness in the 3rd chapter of the Tao Te Ching that I have always found useful at this hour. Lao Tzu writes of the sage who empties the mind and fills the belly, who weakens the will and strengthens the bones. On the surface, this sounds paradoxical. Why would you weaken the will? But what he means is the grasping will, the striving will, the will that is always clenching and insisting and pushing toward outcomes. That will, he says, can rest. The bones, the deep structure, the essential nature, the thing that you are made of at the most fundamental level, that can be strengthened by the rest, not weakened, strengthened. Your bones are being strengthened right now. Not literally, though the body does, in fact, do significant repair work during sleep, including in the bones. But in the deeper sense that Lao Tzu meant, the essential structure of you, your capacity for patience, for wisdom, for clear-eyed response to difficult things, is being built up by this stillness, this rest, this voluntary emptying of the grasping mind. You are not wasting time. You are doing the most important work. Let the breath slow a little more, if it wants to. It often does, at this stage, without being asked. The body has been listening all this while, and it has understood the instruction even when the mind was still resistant. The breath is slower now than when we began. The heartbeat is lower. The muscles are more settled. The nervous system has shifted, gradually, from the alert, responsive mode it was in an hour ago to something quieter, something closer to the threshold of sleep. You are near that threshold. You don't have to cross it deliberately. You don't have to try to sleep, which is one of the greatest paradoxes of this kind of hour. Trying to sleep prevents sleep, the way trying to remember a word prevents the word from coming. The way trying to laugh on command produces something that isn't quite laughter. Sleep comes when you stop pursuing it, when you release the agenda, when you allow the body and the brain to do what they were built to do in their own time, in their own way. So don't try to sleep. Just breathe. Just be here, in the warmth, in the quiet, in the particular stillness of this hour that belongs to you. The body will do the rest. It knows how. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Book 4 of the Meditations, "People look for retreats for themselves, in the country, the seashore, the hills. And you too are especially prone to this. But this is altogether unphilosophical when it is possible for you at any time you want to retreat into yourself. For nowhere is there a more peaceful or less troubled retreat than in one's own soul. The retreat is here. You are already in it. Nowhere else needs to be reached." The light is very faint now. Whatever remains of awareness is softer than it was, softer around its edges, less certain of its own borders. The thoughts, if they are still moving, are moving the way clouds move in a slow wind, without urgency, without intention, arriving from one direction and departing in another without stopping anywhere long enough to demand attention. This is the border country between waking and sleep. You have been here before, many times, on easier nights, though you rarely remember it because memory requires a kind of attentiveness that this place doesn't have. This place is soft. It is uncertain. It doesn't ask you to remember it. Be here now, in the not quite knowing of it, in the blurring of the thing that says I and the thing that is simply aware. There is a you here that is older than thinking, older than worry, older than the particular problems that belong to this particular life. A you that was here before language, in the first years of a life that hadn't yet learned to narrate itself. A you that is still here, underneath the narrating, the way the ground is still there underneath the snow. Breathe in. The breath is very soft now. The rib cage barely moves. The belly rises slightly and falls slightly, and there is almost no effort in it at all. It is just happening, the way things happen at this depth, automatically, faithfully, without requiring anything from the one breathing. Breathe out. The body is very heavy, the kind of heavy that is not a burden but a gift. The heaviness of something that has let go of the work of holding itself up. The heaviness of trust, of the knowledge, somewhere beneath thought, that the surface beneath you is capable and steady and has been holding you all night. Epictetus wrote, somewhere in the Discourses, about the nature of a person who has found what he called freedom. The person who is free is the person who lives as he wishes, who cannot be compelled or hindered or coerced, whose impulses have no obstacle, whose desires always end in achievement, whose aversions never befall him. That is a high standard. Epictetus knew it was a high standard. He was describing not an arrival but a direction, not a fixed state but a quality of movement, the orientation of a life towards something that cannot be taken. Right now, you are moving in that direction, in the small, specific way that is available to this hour. Not the great philosophical work of reshaping a life, but the immediate, humble, practical practice of releasing the grip, just for tonight, on the things that cannot be changed by gripping them. The outcome that is not yours to control. The conversation that will happen or not happen in its own time. The fear that, however real, cannot be met at 3 in the morning by a person lying in the dark. You are releasing it, not solving it, not dismissing it. Just setting it down in the next room where it will wait without any harm to anyone until you are equipped to meet it. And the hand, having set it down, uncurls. The fingers, which have been holding more than they knew, fall open. The palm faces upward or sideways, or wherever gravity places it when intent has left it. And the arm is heavy, and the shoulder is low, and the neck is soft, and the face is nobody's face, and the breath moves in and out as quietly as anything has ever moved. The philosophers are still here. They have been here all night, these old voices from across centuries and continents. The Spaniard who wrote letters to his friend, the slave from Phrygia who taught from a small school, the emperor who wrote only to himself, the old sage of China who described everything that matters in 81 short poems. They are not speaking anymore. There is nothing more to say. They are simply present. The way that good company is present, sitting in the same room without needing to speak, sharing the quiet. You are in good company. You have always been in good company, though this particular hour makes it easier to feel. The still point holds. The world turns around it. The river flows. The water finds its level. The mud settles. The breath moves. And now, beneath all of it, beneath the thoughts and the breath and the settling body and the turning world, beneath everything, something older than all of it, the simple fact of being here, alive, in a room, in the middle of a night that is already beginning, somewhere very far to the east, to become morning. You don't have to hurry toward it. It is coming toward you. It always is. Let the eyes be heavy. Let the breath be barely perceptible. Let the body be the most settled thing in the room, settled into the surface beneath it, into the warmth around it, into the gravity that holds it gently to the earth it is made of and will return to and is, even now, part of. You are part of the earth tonight. As much as the stones are, as much as the roots of the old trees are, as much as the water that moves through the ground below any city or field or hillside, finding its way without effort to wherever it is going, you are going to sleep. You are already almost there. The breath, the dark, the warmth, the still point. Sleep now, gently, without effort. You have done enough for one day. You always do. Sleep. Noctuary. Calm philosophy for the nights your mind won't stop. New sessions every few nights. Sleep well.